So Google and Epic Games have been having a lawsuit for a little while now, and Google just lost their recent appeal to try to get the ruling overturned. And since Google lost, everyone else wins except for Google, because this lawsuit basically has Google giving up their monopoly position over Android because Epic Games has forced them to give it up. This is a great thing for everyone except for Google. So this lawsuit was really similar to the Apple versus Epic Games lawsuit, where they were basically suing over monopolistic practices on the App Store and Google Play Store. Google and Apple have both done some pretty insanely anti-competitive things to maintain their monopoly of their storefronts, and we'll get into how bad they were because they were really bad. But in general, this ruling is good for everyone except for Google, and it might even be good for Google in the long run because it forces them to actually innovate and be better instead of just like cruising along with their monopoly in the App Store. And a quick reminder of why this lawsuit even happened, because honestly, it was forever ago. Epic Games put Fortnite on the App Store and the Google Play Store, and they offered ways to get around Google and Apple's payment processors to buy V-Bucks in the store without paying a 30% extra fee. Google and Apple both did not like this and then removed Fortnite from the App Store, and then Epic Games sued them both. And Apple has already lost their lawsuit, and now Google has lost their lawsuit. And to be clear, Apple also appealed, because none of these companies can actually just take an L. They have to like appeal, always appeal. Now Google will appeal this, but they might not be protected like they were with the last appeal they did in 2024. When they appealed in 2024, the judge allowed them to continue doing what they were doing, so Google did not have to stop any of their bad practices during the appeal, but this time it's probably going to be different because this is their second appeal. But since Google lost this appeal, they now had to do a bunch of different things to accommodate the judge. The first thing they had to do is stop requiring Google Play billing for apps distributed on the Google Play Store, and this one is kind of insane when you think about it, because Google basically made this app store that allowed you to post stuff on it, right? But the only way to buy things in their store is use their payment processor. Apple also used to do a very similar thing, but now they have to allow way more payment options because of the lawsuit, so that's great. Google will probably end up doing almost the exact same thing and allow alternative payment methods on the app. And Google also wouldn't let you advertise other payment processors as an option, so you are forced to use the Google Pay billing. And that's relevant because of this second point. Let Android developers tell users about other ways to pay from within the Play Store. So basically with this one, when you bought something on the Google Play Store, Google would take 30% of that money. Even if you bought something within an app, like let's say you were on Fortnite and you bought V-Bucks, Google would take 30% of that, which is crazy. Now they still will be taking their 30%, but now you can actually advertise other payment methods because you couldn't do that before. It was bannable. So if you didn't want to pay Google's 30% cut on your app and you advertised a different payment method like Patreon or something like that, even just a card processor, Google would say nuh-uh and remove your app from the App Store because that was against the rules. Like you may have noticed, if you buy something on mobile, sometimes it's more expensive than like the PC. And that's because Google and Apple both take a 30% cut, so developers raise the price to compensate for that huge cut of the profits. Because really, 30% for just having the app on the App Store is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing. At least Steam has the argument that it's like a huge storefront. There's a bunch of servers. They do a bunch of different services to help people with their game. Google and Apple were just like, hey, we have the App Store, 30% please. And the next one is let developers link ways to download their app outside of the Play Store. And this one's also pretty huge because if you do this, Google's cut is like entirely removed. They don't get any of that 30%. And if you're a developer, this means you can sell your app on other platforms and just link people to download it on their phone, which is great. And the next one is Google has to let Android developers set their own prices for apps irrespective of pay billing. Now, the reason this one is here is because for smaller apps, Google would basically say, hey, your prices have to be the same. If you're selling it on somewhere else like iPhone or Steam or wherever, if you're selling your app on any other platform, it has to be the same price. Bigger developers got away with having different prices on different storefronts, but it was against the rules. The only reason they weren't banned is because they were kind of too big to fail within the App Store. But all of these changes are fantastic, and they're really pushing Google in the direction they should have been pushed towards, which is just being a platform. Google Play Store is not a monopoly, it is just an app store. That is all it should be and all it will be as of now. And those were just the restrictions for the App Store. By the way, there's more. Google also can't share app revenue with any person or entity that distributes Android apps or plans to launch an app store or app platform. So basically this is saying if Tim Sweeney makes an Epic Games Store on the Play Store, if you download the Epic Games Store from the Play Store, Google can't take any of the money from Epic Games. If you buy things in the Epic Games Store, Google has no say in that at all. They get zero cut, which is different different to how it used to be, where if you bought something like a microtransaction on the Google Play Store, Google got a cut, which is ridiculous. Like, all the gotcha gamers who spend thousands of dollars on gambling anime games, all of those types of people were raking in millions of dollars for these companies, because if you bought anything within the Google Play Store, Google got a cut. It's ridiculous. Google also can't offer developers money or perks to launch their apps in the Play Store exclusively or first. And this one's kind of a big one. It seems a little unfair because, I mean, Epic Games does that all the time. Like, there's a lot of games on the Epic Games Store that you can't get on Steam right now because it's like a timed release thing. And Epic Games does pay for that. But I guess the argument here would be that Google is already huge and doesn't need to do that, and that's true. They don't need to do that. Like, it's a lot different if Epic Games pays for exclusivity of like a really small indie title versus Google buying out, like, I don't know, the calculator app or something. There's just a big difference between Google doing it and Epic Games Store doing it. Google also can't offer money or perks to not launch an app, so Google can't go to their rival and pay them off to not develop the product anymore, which is great. They were kind of doing this with Firefox for a while by giving Firefox a bunch of money, and basically Firefox is funded entirely by Google. It's actually a really big problem. But Google not being able to pay off their competition is great. Google also can't offer device makers or manufacturers any perks for pre-installing Google Play on their phone. So if a new Android phone company comes along, Google can't pay them off to basically make Google Play the only app store on the phone, which opens the doors to companies like Epic Games making their own app store and having it pre-installed on a different phone. And add on to that rule, Google also can't offer money or perks for companies to not install like a competitive app store on their phone. So Google can't go to this brand new Android phone company and be like, hey, don't put Epic Games on here, here's $10 million. They can't do that. Now, these are all some big things for Google, and it sucks for Google, but it's good for literally everyone else. Competition is a great thing, and we need competition. Google and Apple have held this like duopoly position for a long while now, and it's great they're finally being forced to open up the doors a little bit. We'll probably see a lot more cool stuff coming out of the App Store and the Google Play Store in the near future, because these are all good changes for both these companies. And some of you might be thinking like, hey, doesn't Steam kind of do all this? And the answer is a little bit. I don't think Steam is paying anybody off or doing any backroom deals or anything like that, but they are taking a 30% cut. But ultimately, I think Steam is way more fair, and there's also competition for Steam. Like, as much as Epic Games kind of blows like the launcher does, it is competition for Steam. There's literally no options on Apple or Google devices. There's none. But on PC, for example, you have like Steam, the Microsoft Store, Epic Games Launcher, itchy.io. There's like a lot of options to get games on the computer. It's just not the same thing, even though the cuts are both kind of extreme. Like, Steam also takes a 30% cut, which I personally think is too high. Like, Steam at the very least offers you like servers and a lot of help with making servers and having things work on Steam. Like, Steam is great for launching games. From what I hear, they do a lot for you, but 30% still seems steep. But that's just my opinion. Now, Steam could get to this point where they have this kind of monopoly ability with the Steam Deck. That is a possibility. But at this very moment, the Steam Deck is not super popular, and it would have to have something like 10 times the user base. And also, from what I understand, you can download things on the Steam Deck from outside the Steam store. You can just do that. Google and Apple both locked that down really hard. They tried to get you to not download anything from outside the App Store or Google Play Store forever. Apple was especially egregious. Like, Steam could become a problem. I just don't see it happening. There's way too much competition for Steam, and honestly, I don't think Valve cares to be like anti-competitive. I just don't think they care. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you're new. Click the entries down, check out all my content, and have a good one.